What is SQL profiling in Oracle? A SQL profile is a database object that contains auxiliary statistics specific to a SQL statement. Conceptually, a SQL profile is to a SQL statement what object-level statistics are to a table or index. SQL profiles are created when a DBA invokes SQL Tuning Advisor. What is SQL profile and baseline? A SQL profile contains auxiliary information that mitigates these problems. When used together with its regular inputs, a SQL profile helps the optimizer minimize mistakes and thus more likely to select the best plan. A SQL plan baseline for a SQL statement consists of a set of accepted plans. What is SQL baseline in Oracle? SQL plan baselines are a new feature in Oracle Database 11G that helps to prevent repeatedly used SQL statements from regressing because a newly generated execution plan is less effective than what was originally in the library cache. How to profile SQL query in Oracle. Oracle SQL profile. Run SQL Tuning Advisor. Run the following SQL Tuning Advisor code for SQL_ID 6DKRNBX1ZDWY38. Accept the SQL profile. Run the following code to accept the SQL profile. Check the name of the SQL profile. Use the following query to check the SQL profile name. Disable the SQL profile. Drop the SQL profile. How to check if SQL profile is being used in Oracle. Find the entry corresponding to the SQL statement you are reviewing in $SQL. Look at outline_category and SQL profile columns. Null indicates that no outline/profile was used. How can I tell if a SQL profile is used? Of course, the easiest way to see the latest use is by checking $SQL. SQL profile. What is the difference between SQL profiles and SQL plan baselines? The query optimizer normally uses information like object and system statistics, compilation environment, bind values, and so on to determine the best plan for a SQL statement. In some cases, defects in either these inputs or the optimizer can lead to a suboptimal plan. A SQL profile contains auxiliary information that mitigates these problems. When used together with its regular inputs, a SQL profile helps the optimizer minimize mistakes and thus more likely to select the best plan. A SQL plan baseline for a SQL statement consists of a set of accepted plans. When the statement is parsed, the optimizer will only select the best plan from among this set. If a different plan is found using the normal cost-based selection process, the optimizer will add it to the plan history, but this plan will not be used until it is verified to perform better than the existing accepted plan and is evolved. So, SQL profiles provide additional information to the optimizer to help select the best plan. They don't constrain the optimizer to any specific plan, which is why they can be shared. SQL plan baselines, on the other hand, constrain the optimizer to only select from a set of accepted plans. The cost-based approach is still used to choose a plan, but only within this set of plans. SQL plan baselines are a more conservative plan selection strategy than SQL profiles. So when should you use SQL profiles versus SQL plan baselines? You should use a SQL profiles if you just want to help the optimizer a little in its costing process without constraining it to any specific plan. This approach can be extremely useful when you want the system to adapt immediately to changes like new object statistics. You should use SQL plan baselines if you are more conservative and want to control which plans are used. If you are using SQL plan baselines and find that the optimizer sometimes does not select the best plan from the accepted list or does not find a best cost plan to add to the plan history, then you can always use a SQL profile as well. What are the 5 types of SQL? These SQL commands are mainly categorized into 5 categories as DDL, Data Definition Language; DQL, Data Query Language; DML, Data Manipulation Language; DCL, Data Control Language; TCL, Transaction Control Language. What are the 5 basic SQL queries? Some of the most important SQL commands. Select extracts data from a database. Updates data in a database. Delete deletes data from a database. Insert into inserts new data into a database. Create database creates a new database. Alter database modifies a database. Create table creates a new table. What are some of the best practices for writing SQL queries? Choose appropriate data type. Choose appropriate SQL data type to store your data, since it also helps to improve the query performance. Example, to store strings use varchar in place of text data type, since varchar performs better than text. Use text data type whenever you required storing of large text data, more than 8,000 characters. Up to 8,000 characters data you can store in varchar. Avoid char and varchar. Practice to avoid char and varchar data type, since both the data types takes just double memory as char and varchar. Use char and varchar when you required to store Unicode, 16-bit characters, data like as Hindi, Chinese characters, etc. Avoid null in the fixed length field. Practice avoiding the insertion of null values in the fixed length, char, field, since null takes the same space as the desired input value for that field. In case of requirement of null, use variable length, varchar, field that takes less space for null. Avoid asterisk in select statement. Practice avoiding asterisk in select statement, since server converts the asterisk to column's name before query execution. One more thing. Instead of querying all columns by using asterisk in the select statement, give the name of columns which you required. Avoid. Select asterisk from TBL name. Best practice. Select call 1, call 2, call 3 from TBL name. Use exists instead of in. Practice to use exists to check existence instead of in, since exists is faster than in. Avoid. Select name, price from TBL product. Where product ID in, select distinct product ID from TBL order. Best practice. Select name, price from TBL product. Where product ID exists, select distinct product ID from TBL order. Avoid having clause. Practice avoiding having clause, since it acts as a filter over selected rows. Having clause is required if you further wish to filter the result of an aggregation. Don't use having clause for any other purpose. Create clustered and non-clustered indexes. Practice to create clustered and non-clustered index, since indexes helps to access data fastly. But be careful, more indexes on a table will slow the insert, update, delete operations. Hence try to keep small no of indexes on a table. Keep clustered index small. Practice to keep clustered index as much as possible, since the fields used in the clustered index may also be used in non-clustered index, and data in the database is also stored in the order of the clustered index. Hence a large clustered index on a table with a large number of rows increase the size significantly. Please refer the article effective clustered indexes. Avoid cursors. Practice avoiding cursors, since the cursor is very slow in performance. Always try to use SQL Server cursor alternative. Please refer the article cursor alternative. Use table variable in place of temp table. Practice using a table variable in place of temp table, since the temp table resides in the temp database. Hence the use of temp tables required interaction with the temp database that is a little bit time taking the task. Use union all in place of union. Practice using union all in place of union, since it is faster than union as it doesn't sort the result set for distinguished values. Use schema name before SQL object's name. Practice using schema name before SQL object name followed by dot, since it helps the SQL server for finding that object in a specific schema. As a result, performance is best. Here DBO is schema name. Select call 1, call 2 from dbo.tbl name. Avoid. Select call 1, call 2 from TBL name. Keep transaction small. Practice keeping transaction as small as possible, since transaction lock the processing table's data during its life. Sometimes long transaction may result in deadlocks. Create procedure dbo.mytestproc. As set no count on. Begin. END. Use stored procedure for frequently used data and more complex queries. Practice creating a stored procedure for query that is required to access data frequently. We also created a stored procedure for resolving more complex tasks. Avoid prefix sp_ with the user-defined stored procedure name. What is NVL in SQL? NVL is a substitution function, which means it displays one value while another is null. Not only 0, but null, empty, and void as well. Can NVL have 3 parameters? NVL2 has 3 parameters, while NVL has 2. The purpose of the ln NVL is to perform a logical not null on the expression that has been provided. It allows you to evaluate data that contains a null value, which is something you can't easily do within a single where conditio.